I'm ready to slash and burn.
No border. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And this is an exciting day because I have never had Gary Jin on my show, and I have definitely been wanting to talk to him for some time. So we're here to talk about free shipping.
Okay, we'll talk about free shipping.
We'll talk about free shipping. Yes, absolutely. So it's been an interesting season. Obviously, this year, free shipping came with a little bit of a different design. So before we get into any of the matches themselves, let's kind of talk about that and like the thought behind that process.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way the things go, you know, the way the rules are written, you got to do some damage, and just having a lifter wasn't doing any damage. You know, we finally got the lifter where it could actually lift, sort of. I mean, we, you know, flipped Blacksmith over a couple of times, but, you know, he flipped himself back over and, you know, kept doing more damage to us. And so, I don't know. It was a tough decision, you know, to you know, kind of a, if you can't beat them, join them kind of a thing. But we tried to, you know, keep with the theme of free shipping, and some of the more, I guess, astute viewers may have noticed that the tips of the spinner are shaped like little boots. So, you know, we figured, what's faster than using a forklift to deliver your packages? Well, just kicking them up onto your porch. So
Yes, that is certainly one potential method of delivery. I hadn't noticed that, so now I will have to look for that.
yeah, I mean, come on. What do you want for free, right?
So the first match that you had was against Gigabyte, which obviously, you know, it's still basically the same old Gigabyte, you know, different drivers, because of the you know, John kind of having to do sort of double duty with being involved with Cobalt and then, you know, still with Gigabyte. How was that for you? I mean, obviously you came out with a win. It was a knockout, really great match for free shipping to kind of start with that out of the gate. So, you know, what was your thought going into that? Because obviously they're a veteran team, so you're very familiar with them. So, you know, talk about that and kind of how that match went.
Yeah. So, I mean, wasn't too worried about it, you know, because it's, you know, I guess you get more worried if it's an unknown, but, you know, fought against Robotic Death Company robots many times. And, you know, with a full body spinner, the strategy is pretty simple, you know, just hit them going into the, you know, into the spin. You know, there's no getting around to the backside or the sides. I mean, it's the whole thing is deadly. So figured, you know, under new configuration, I could just, you know, box rush, as everybody likes to do, just go at them and just see what happens. So worked out pretty well for us, I guess.
I would say that it worked out pretty well. I was excited to see free shipping, you know, just having a really great match there. What's interesting is that the second match was against Minotaur, which, you know, obviously we all know the power that their weapon comes with, but I also thought that was a pretty great match, to be honest. You know, like you really were able to, you know, kind of do a few things in the beginning. I mean, obviously in the end, they kind of brought the power that they always come with. But it's still, you know, fighting against people that you know very well. And I'm sure that you know, knew what to expect out of that one also.
Yeah. I mean, Minotaur, I mean, it's so powerful. And, you know, the old strategy of just hit them really hard, hit them until they break, doesn't really work anymore because they don't break anymore. it just keeps going and going and going, and even if you break a side of the drivetrain, Daniel's able to still move around with just one wheel. So that thing is so solid, so heavy. I'm not surprised that they were able to do that much damage to us, because they've been really progressing. But pretty much, I've been building the same thing for over 15 years, and I haven't really made it that much stronger. So not really surprised how that went. So
Yeah, for sure. And when Junior was on the show, he said that this is the best version of Minotaur that they've ever brought to BattleBots. I mean, having fought against them, would you say that that's the case?
oh yeah, definitely.
It is scary, what it's doing, what it's supposed to do, for sure.
Yeah, Daniel is just so aggressive. I mean, and he can be, because what can you do to him? Yeah. He has no
Yes.
reason, not to be aggressive, not to just go for it. Because, that's what works.
Right. I don't know that he has any other setting. Not that I've seen anyways. So it's always maximum intensity.
Exactly.
So then we'll kind of talk about that last match with Hydra, which is the one I think I want to talk about the most, just because it was obviously interesting. You never like to see your robot flying up in the air as many times as it did.
Right.
I part of that, like I said, I think that Jake had just come off of that match versus Tantrum. He really wanted to just go at someone, and you happen to be the next opponent there.
Yeah.
Is that what you were expecting?
I knew it would be tough. I know he's, playing the ground game, as they say. He's got all kinds of implements up there, and I've pretty much, kept with the same, wedge design, which, with really bumpy floor doesn't work so well anymore. And, not to take away anything from, what he was able to do, we were in that fight probably about 40 pounds underweight. So that's the reason we were getting such altitude. But after a couple of tries, I knew, okay, not going to beat him on the ground game. He's got the speed to just sit and spin. There's no getting around to the side, so might as well put on a show.
Yeah, it certainly was a show. Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, because there was a lot of debate after that match, that you were already done, like everything was done, and he kind of decided to get those last few flips in, and he didn't really ask or try and see if it was okay, but he still did that. I mean, were you okay with it, or?
I mean, we're in there, we're fighting. You have to just assume that, as long as the other guy, the opponent is doing something that's within the rules, you can't really complain. I mean, I did look over to Jake and, gave him the little, hey, I'm dead sign, but I'm sure he wasn't, he had his blinders on. He didn't want to see that. So he didn't. And
Yes.
so took a couple of extra shots there with, on a completely lifeless robot. So
I think he kind of had a one-track mind in that moment, for sure. So yeah, that was definitely a tough match. But we obviously can't get into the details on it yet. But I thought that having that final match be against Big Deal was very interesting, because both robots have traditionally been control bots, and both have added a weapon this season, which is different for both of you. So what was your thought about that? Because it's they're very, very similar in a lot of ways. Obviously, you have the fire. That's different. They have the food. You have the fire. So
I mean, unless you're eating raw, right? You got to have one for the other. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that his weapon, once I took a look at it, I knew it was way bigger than ours. Ours is barely, could be defined as a spinner. And I know he's been experimenting with forks for a long time, so kind of knew that he was probably going to win the ground game as well, but it just was going to come down to driving. So, but of course he practices a lot more than I do.
Well, I think that you still, regardless of anything else, I think you're definitely still considered, a very strong driver. I've seen plenty of free shippings matches where you've been able to do some quite skilled driving. So we'll see how that goes. But it's always interesting, not just coming into a season with a different robot in the sense of adding the weapon, but also there's been so many changes to BattleBots this year. The shelf's still there. I think there's a lot of people that felt different ways about that, but the rule changes and knowing your matches ahead of time. For me as a viewer, I felt like there were more changes this past season than normal. Do you feel like as a competitor that a lot of those changes were value added, or do you think that it didn't make much of a difference?
Yeah, the shelf, I don't know, it just took away a lot of the room to work, and put certain certain designs like horizontals at a big disadvantage. It did help us in a way, because the front edge, or the screw edge of the shelf is actually within the fire zone. So that allows us to try to pin somebody and flame them, which we couldn't do against any of the other walls. I don't know how many times we were actually able to take advantage of that, but at least that was there. But yeah, on TV, the box looks huge. When you're there in the driver's stand, the box looks tiny. And then having that there just made it even worse, So just, not much room to work in, That, yeah.
Yeah, I can say is I got the opportunity to briefly step inside of the box for a little bit, and yeah, I mean it takes up probably even more room than what it looks like on TV, especially when you compare the size of the robots to like how much space they have to work with in the arena. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but it's really strange how small, how much larger the box looks when you look at it on TV. It's
yeah.
Well, yeah, just drive around over there. Plenty of room over there. No, there's not. But there isn't. I don't know. It's a very strange thing.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of TV magic involved in the perception of when you watch it versus being there live, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're pretty well into the season so far, but there's still, basically like 2 months left to go, in terms of the rest of the fight nights and then the tournament and all of that good stuff. But then we have, the kind of things up in the air still about World Championship VIII. Is that going to happen this year, or is it getting pushed to next year? Like, there's a lot of debate about that. What have you been doing in the off time? I think you've been working a little bit on the Destruct-A-Thon, I've seen.
Yeah, we went, my teammate Jim has been worked with the guys that were building some of the robots and helping out with adding fire effects to some of the robots for Destruct-A-Thon, because it is a show, you gotta have the excitement, and the fans love the fire. I mean, we all love the fire. So he was helping out with that. And so we decided to go and check it out. We went to the first couple of shows, just to see how it was going to play out. So it was very interesting.
I would imagine. I haven't been to it yet. I've definitely seen plenty of, photos and people talking about it and things like that. I think it's intriguing. It's an interesting, different avenue for getting people exposed to BattleBots, but at the same time, given the design of these particular robots, it's a little bit different than BattleBots because they're designed to hold up a little bit better so that they can, kind of continue on for multiple shows and things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, it was kind of interesting because they're the robots, but they're not the robots. And then it's the teams, but it's not the teams. But but then it's a different crowd, I guess. So there's the hardcore fans that watch every episode, watch every blog, have their own blogs. And go to every session of filming and know everything about the robots, about the builders, about the teams. And then, there's the more casual viewers, and, maybe that's geared, what Destruct-A-Thon is geared towards, and just to get people exposed to it and, draw them in.
Right, exactly. Sometimes it just starts with that, and then you watch a little bit more of it, and you kind of, get into it. I know plenty of people that have been in that situation. I mean, I've been watching since the Comedy Central days, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that haven't, and they just, they're like, oh, what's this BattleBots thing? And it might be helpful for, people like that are just coming to Vegas and want to see a cool robot show.
Yeah, so it's just like any fandom, right? There's all different levels of it. And, any exposure or any, way to consume it is good. So.
Yeah, for sure. Now, after this season and everything, is there any future evolution planned for free shipping? Or what do you intend to do next with it?
Yeah, so knowing your 4 fights was good. The 4 fights I did have were pretty tough. Having to face Gigabyte and Minotaur and Hydra, all the heavy hitters. And I can understand why the selection committee did what they did. Probably the same reason we had to fight Tombstone last season. And then we also had the whole other show we had to do, right? Sin City Slugfest, which can't wait to see how that plays out. But yeah, we were taking a lot of damage this filming season. So I've been thinking of some new designs, maybe a complete revamp of the entire thing. I don't know. We'll see. It also depends on, timing, when we know season 8 is going to happen or championship 8 is going to happen, and how much time there is before that. And yeah, but pretty much just been thinking about it. And right now, though, I'm getting ready to go to RoboGames in a few weeks. So.
Yeah, because that's another thing, people have been talking about it, and I wish that I could have gone because I've never been. It's come back after a 5-year hiatus. It seems like a pretty exciting event because it's not just combat. It's
Right.
a whole bunch of different things related to robotics. Are you going there for just the combat piece of it, or are you trying to get into any of the other aspects?
Mainly for the combat. I used to bring 2 robots, a heavyweight Original Sin and lightweight the Big B, but kind of retired the Big B, and I guess we're just got to convert free shipping back to Original Sin and get that ready. But I've entered the kinetic art bots for a few times. Yeah. So in fact, with this guy right here.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to, kind of hear how that event goes. I'm very curious about it, but it's nice that there's, that competition there as
Mhm.
well, because
Yeah.
there's a lot out there. I mean, there's so much more than people realize. I didn't know about all of these other competitions until probably 6 to 9 months ago. So it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of what, people would call real robots there, not their giant RC cars. But yeah, RoboGames has been good to a lot of us BattleBot builders. It's, we're developed, frame for free shipping, started out as Original Sin. And last rights, Ray Billings has developed last right. I've helped you know helped Ray figure out where all the weak points are in last right, so now Tombstone is so much stronger. And Matt Maxim had Sewer Snake, which then so that became Stinger, and a lot of other guys, Megabyte became Gigabyte. So RoboGames, has helped make BattleBots so much better.
Yes. I mean, really, I think, all of these competitions that, they're ways to test your robot, figure out what works, and decide what direction you want to go with it. So many robots have kind of had that pattern of evolution over time. Even on BattleBots, when you look at the first ABC season with some of these robots until now, it's very different. And I think that's exciting because it's just breeding more innovation and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I found some old DVDs from RoboGames, I think 2008. And in there we saw a very, very young Daniel with Toro, and then, eventually they had Toro Maximus, and then, that's what became Minotaur. So a lot of us have been doing this for a long time.
Yes, that is for sure. As long as you can promise that your robot is always going to have fire, then I'm on board.
Yes, definitely free shipping will have fire.
That is great to hear. If I could put a flamethrower on every robot, I mean, I probably would, but that's me personally. So yeah, well, that's very exciting. Obviously, best of luck at RoboGames. I hope that it's a great time. I hope that it's a successful event, because that's something that I also would like to see, come back on a yearly basis. It just gives more exposure and more opportunities for people when it comes to combat robotics. So
well, you should come.
I want to. If I could just do this for a living and just go to robot events all the time, that would be a dream. But we'll see. Yeah, if it happens again next year, I'm gonna have to try and plan. So yeah. So David, if you're watching this show, make RoboGames happen again next year. Yeah, well, that's super exciting. Hopefully there's a lot more of these events popping up in different locations. It's funny because I'm both ideally located being in the Midwest, because I'm not far from anything in any direction, but at the same time, there's not enough in this immediate area. So
everything's a trip for you.
Yes, sure. Everything is a trip, but we'll see what happens. So but no, and one other thing that I want to make sure I do, because I've been doing it on every show for a while here, is if you would like to give a shout out to any of free shipping sponsors, please do that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my biggest sponsor is my mom. So she's Coup Art Studio, and that's where we are right now. And we've got Suncut Send, and also a local steel supplier in Hayward, California, Naylor Steel, has helped us out for many years now. So
awesome. Yeah, nobody could do this really without their sponsors. So I think it's important to make sure that they get the love as well. So yeah, but Super excited, to have had you on the show and had this opportunity to chat about free shipping. And everybody that's watching, please, like, subscribe, comment, keep supporting the show. And thank you to everyone who does support the show. It's so important, not the easiest thing to grow a podcast. So I'm very thankful to everyone that has supported and all of that. But just keep watching. Lots more BattleBots to come. Lots more of all kinds of robot stuff to come this season. So we'll have plenty of things to talk about, and we'll see everybody next time on the show.